Hello everyone! In this video we're going to be building a cemetery, and I really wanted it to be something that could work here in Ciudad Enamorada, and so I really wanted to have a church that was inspired by a real one, so I am basing this on the Iglesia de la Concepción in Mexico City, and I was very happy with how close I could get to the actual church. I am using a lot of this stuff from Life and Death, of course, not only just for the graveyard but also the actual church. And there's also going to be like a party venue next to it because I really wanted it to be a place where you could also have a wedding if you wanted to, or some other kind of fancy party. If you wanted to have your own prom party, or maybe if you wanted to have a fancy birthday party, you could do that. And this church is based on a chapel that was built about 500 years ago, and it is the oldest church in all of Mexico City. It is really beautiful, and I looked at some pictures and videos and tours of it, so I really tried to get close to it, but it isn't really a Catholic church in The Sims, of course, because we don't have certain items, and I really like that because when I have weddings in The Sims, I'm not thinking of them as Catholic weddings, and I actually don't know if I would like to be married in a church, but I used lots of items that made it look correct enough, and I thought that was very cool. I of course don't have an actual bell tower, but I have these roof decorations, so I thought that they looked close enough as well, and I also really liked how the roof came out looking. It was also very close to the actual roof of the church, and I'm just really excited about this build. I really liked how it came out. I made sure to have one of these, I forget the name of them, but these have spheres on the rooftops. I wish you could actually have those visible from the inside. I think that would be really beautiful. But I think that this looks close enough, and I really liked how all of those stains that I added to the walls from For Rent looked. They made it look so accurate and so real. I really loved that. And I also liked having the roof being red. I used the new tile from Life and Death, and I painted the rest of it with like a red concrete, which is something that you will see in Mexico all the time. Most of the rooftops are red. And that's actually one of the things that I was very happy to see when we first got this world, was that all of the rooftops were red, so that was very cool for me. Inside I am going to be having this sort of entryway, and from there you can access the choir area. I also added a pipe organ in that corner, which I thought was really cool, and I am painting it using wallpapers from Life and Death. I was very happy with how that pack actually blended into this building, and I think that it's just perfect. I think most people have already noticed that the modern stuff from Lovestruck and Life and Death go great together, but I was very surprised with how the more traditional items from each pack look together, and they actually made a very convincing Mexican colonial church. The door was just perfect. If you look at the actual church, it has pretty much the same door, so I thought it was very cool. I really like the floor. The one in the actual church isn't this fancy, but I think that this one made it look a lot better, especially since I didn't have the ability to add all of the oil paintings and decorations that the church has on the inside. Mexican churches have a lot of gold when they are kind of fancy, and I only really added gold in the chandeliers and that kind of thing, and I also added these benches that are a lot more ornate, but I don't have wedding stories, so that's a cool thing. If you wanted a wedding venue that didn't use any wedding stories, this one's for you. I'm going to have it on the gallery, of course. I should have it as soon as this video is up, and I also wanted to have these be, of course, functional for funerals or weddings, so I made sure to add the podium and the memorial display as well as a casket, but I also have an archway. And since when I was making this kind of altar back display, I discovered that it was clipping to the back. I have like a like a skinny room behind this, so that could be hidden. And if you wanted to have a wedding and you wanted to hide a casket, that's a good spot for it. You don't have to actually get rid of it, you can just hide it. And vice versa, if you wanted to have a funeral and the wedding arch bothered you, although I don't think that this wedding arch is too intrusive, you could also hide it. I also have a spot for a funeral outside as well as for a wedding, so you could also get married in the cemetery if you wanted, or the wedding venue also has a wedding arch. What I thought that was cool for photos mainly, so I was thinking that you could have the ceremony inside and then just the party on that other building. And I was also very happy to be using this carpet. I thought that it was very nice to have it. It was basically the same as the one in the actual church. And I have, in the entryway, I have another bench and a memorial display. I haven't been to an actual church in a very long time, so I don't really remember what these areas look like. I made sure to have these be a lot darker and to have some candles. I thought that would be more accurate. But still, it seems we don't have many of the items that you would only find at churches. So, yeah. But I wanted to have some more flowers and some more candles. I'm using the flowers from Life and Death, but I thought that they could also work for a wedding. And I am also adding these medieval tapestries from vampires. I thought they were really pretty. We don't actually have the tapestries in the actual chapel that I've been mentioning. But I saw on a video that they actually have the name of the chapel on the side of the building, and it's just carved in stone, so I thought that it would be nice to have those Discover University crests, I think. And I added some of those stone decorations from that bag as well as from Castle State. I didn't use that much from Castle State, but I did use it in a few places. And I also added this glass case from Jungle Adventure that has some sort of calendar. And I added that because many of the old churches in Mexico were actually built on top of temples that belonged to the people who were there originally. So many of those indigenous temples are just buried underneath these churches. And when they restore those churches, they often find a stone carving or that kind of thing that might still be there underneath all of that. So I wanted to have that as well. I was thinking that it's very sad that a lot of that is lost and a bunch of it was also destroyed. But some of these churches do have a bit of that maybe next to them. So I wanted to include that. And I know that it's already December, but I really wanted to have a Day of the Dead altar. I think that they call it ofrenda in English. I mostly call it altar. But I really wanted to have all of these items that are some from Lovestruck and some from the base game. I thought that these candles were perfect. They are exactly the kind of candle that we add to altars, and the orange flowers are also very close to the ones that we use. And I am using the memorial display, so it has a few more tiers. Some of these altars are very, very tall, and they have 7 tiers, but this one doesn't have that many. And I also wanted to have the rock from Paranormal, one that is like a flower, because we often add figures made of salt or rice or beans or seeds, so I wanted to have that as well, and a bunch more candles and some food. I also added the pan de muerto. I found one on the gallery, and I also thought that it would be cool to have a bottle of wine and a hot chocolate little mug that looks pretty accurate because it's meant to be Mexican hot chocolate. That one is from the book from Lovestruck, as well as this papel picado that I hung next to the gate that leads into the cemetery, and that metal structure is also from there. I wanted to have these benches, and I wanted to have them in the green swatch because that really screams Mexico City to me, and I am adding them around this fountain from Romantic Garden. I thought that it would be cool if I added a fountain that had gameplay, so that's why I decided to add that one. And it's also huge, but at the same time, it's not super tall or obstructive, so you could still really see the cemetery behind it. And I cut out a lot of the process of deciding which bits of this would be grass and which would be this stone. And actually this is the exact stone that is on the gardens and plaza next to the church that I was taking inspiration from. So I was very excited to see that. When I was watching the tours, I thought it was very cool that I was going to be able to have a stone that was pretty much the same. And I also wanted to have a decorative area here in the cemetery. I don't remember if after I added these beautiful planters from Lovestruck, I also added these statues that I have in this area. But I thought that they looked really cool, and I also really liked how this pattern is continuous, although it did take me a while to actually place them in a way that they would look alright. And then I also added a bunch of flowers and some candles to these graves. I added so many candles and stuff when I wasn't recording because this lot was actually super dark. Those lamps that are the lampposts that are next to the entrance, they don't actually light up, so I had to add some more lights in that area. It was a process of finding more spots for outdoor lights that would look okay. But this is that area that I was mentioning. You could also have a funeral on the outside, and it's right in front of the crypt, which I thought looked really nice. And I decided to have wooden benches because I'm not sure if they would be always there, or maybe you could rent them. So I wanted to have something that wasn't stone and that looked like they could be moved. But if you wanted to have a wedding in here and to move that memorial display and instead have a wedding arch, you could also do that. I think it will look really cute, actually. And sometimes you have scenes that you might want them to get married in a special kind of area. But yeah, I added a bunch of these tombstones. Many of them are from Life and Death, but I also have some from vampires. And the ones that I have next to the crypts, or in between the crypts, are actually from cottage living. I don't think those are actually functional or anything, but I was thinking that there's so many of these already that it would be okay if some of them were just decorative, and maybe you could replace them with your own or replace the other ones if that's what you wanted to do. But now I have added those statues, and we're going to be working on this party venue. And I like sizing up this roof decoration. It looks like this building is very short. I guess it's because the church is next to it, because this is actually medium wall height. So I thought that it was a bit weird. But I thought that it would be cool if we could have a skylight in here, and I am actually using the roof texture that came with Lovestruck. I don't think I had ever used that before, but I like the color, and I also thought that it would be nice if you could have some natural light inside of this area. It also does have a lot of windows, but I thought that it would be nice if there could be some privacy for the party. It just made me feel a bit weird to maybe be having people mourning right next to your loud party. So that's why I don't show it, but I did have curtains and everything. And I made sure that these wouldn't be touching. So there's this kind of alleyway. It's not really an alleyway because it wouldn't have connected to the other side of the lot. So I just have a bit of that stone and then it stops. And that's where I decided to have a trash can, or actually a dumpster. And I really wanted to use these beautiful wallpapers and floor and ceiling textures from Lovestruck. I thought that it was kind of a cool idea to have this sort of dark area, but also have a theme of plants and flowers. And it just looked really cute with all of these dark greens and reds. I am using some of the Life and Death tables, and I also thought that they were perfect with this dance floor, which is from Get Together, and I am actually using a banquet table from Luxury Party. I got that one for free. There was a time when they were giving packs for free. It was that one, Fashion Street and Jungle Adventure, and I wouldn't have bought it with my own money, but I really like having it for these kinds of things. Most of the items in there are very hard to use, so even if I did try to use other items from there, I only ended up using this table. I'm actually using the chairs from high school years. They are like meant for prom. And they had the perfect swatch for these, so I was very happy to use them. I don't think I will ever use them probably. But yeah, I thought that since they fit so well in here that it would not have been right to use any other kind of furniture. And they matched the bar and everything, so I was happy with that. I also decided to have a DJ booth and some more speakers behind that, just so there was something behind that. It looked a bit empty. I always have this problem in The Sims when I'm building. I think that stuff looks empty, and so I want to have everything have like a patterned wallpaper or stuff in front of it, so I do that a lot. But here in the bathroom, I wanted to use this mirror from Lovestruck, also one from Growing Together, and from that pack, I also decided to have a changing table. I don't actually have any like high chairs or anything for babies in here, but I thought that since this was such a big bathroom, it would be nice to have that just maybe for like the looks of it. And I really liked how the colors in there actually turned out. And then here on the outside, I decided to have this area where you could take some pictures and also you could leave some gifts for the couple. And I added some of those gifts that are just for looks, like the ones from the free holiday pack. But I also added the pile of presents from Seasons. So you could actually leave a gift or open your presents in there. So you could actually have wedding presents in-game and it would be functional, so I thought that was very cool. And I decided to have some of them on top of this table. It looks like a pretty nice table. That's actually from the base game, but that swatch looks pretty elegant. And this is that wedding arch that I was mentioning. I wanted to have some of these stars that light up behind it. I thought that was very cute. And I also added a bench in front of that. So you could have different poses in here. I guess you would have to have a photographer in your household so that you could have the couple posing. But I really wanted to have these like tape arrows so that you could tell them to stand in there. And I also have the tripod and the camera, so it would be possible to take pictures, hopefully in a way that doesn't take forever. Also added some lights on the tripod. That's all from Moschino. And then I really wanted to make sure that this looked like there was enough light at night. So I am using these lampposts from Romantic Garden. I think they are very cool. And I raised them up so that you could actually see a bit of the base so that it looked a bit more like integrated. And it was also good so that the papel picado didn't look like it was it didn't look like it was defying gravity. So I liked how I was able to have that at the correct height for that. And then I also added some more of those like wall lights and floor lights. I also really wanted to have this area with the picnic tables. And I added a candle to each of these. The candle is from Life and Death and the table is from Lovestruck. I also didn't show it, but I made sure to have them have different swatches. I thought that would be a bit better because it looked a bit too repetitive, even if they are so colorful. And I also have like a food stand next to it. Many people will tell you that the best part of going to Mass is having breakfast afterwards. So next to churches you will always find food stalls or carts that will sell you maybe like quesadillas or something for breakfast. So I wanted to make sure that that was included. So if you just wanted to come to this lot to hang out, you could also do that and just eat on those tables and maybe visit the cemetery. I really wanted this to be very versatile. Whenever I make community lots, I always want them to have several different activities. So I hope that's something that will be useful for you. And then I decided to add a bunch of trees because Mexico City has so many trees and I think that's so beautiful. These purple trees, the jacarandas, are my favorite tree. And so I wanted to make sure that there were even more of those in this lot. And yeah, I just made sure to have trees and some ivy. I thought that that would be good for the side of the building because it was looking a bit blank. And since the grass in here is so tall, I also added the grass from Cottage Living all around the side of this well, behind the graves and in that kind of grassy areas here in the cemetery. I also thought about adding these palm trees, but I wasn't convinced in the end, so I didn't do that. And I also added the rain paint all around those stones and the buildings and everything. I thought that it would be easier to just add a bunch of that and then erase the one that I didn't need. And these are those grass objects that I was mentioning. I think that it's so nice to be able to actually have the grass be more 3D, but at the same time I wish that we had more ways of doing that and more easily, because I would have liked it if they were a lot longer than they are. But yeah, this is that ivy that I was mentioning. I also added some more of those like water stains and like drips to the side, and I didn't show it because I guess I got distracted or something. So I remembered after I was done recording, just like with the curtains and that kind of thing, that I knew that I wanted it, but I just forgot to do that while I was actually recording. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'm going to have the link in the description so that you could download it in your own game. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye everyone.